What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing another beer from Community Beer Works, and they're out of Buffalo, New York, and this is their Canadian Breakfast Whale. So they're calling this one an American brown ale that is brewed with maple syrup and coffee, then aged on Canadian Rye Whiskey Oak Staves. Comes in at 6.7% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed in time of review. This can is approximately 5 weeks old. So I picked up a mixed 4-pack of the Whale, which is their base American brown ale. It's like their flagship beer, but they also included 3 different variants. I reviewed the Whale a couple years ago on the channel, so I did not re-review it this time around, but I did review Mocha the Whale, which pretty much is what it says it is. It's a mocha version of the Whale, and it tasted like that. Very coffee forward, quite delicious. And then I reviewed their Choco Taco Whale, which they wanted to replicate like the Choco Taco ice cream dessert, but in, I guess, American brown ale form, and it just missed for me. It was not, for me, one of my favorite beers from them. It was definitely disappointing, so I'm hoping that I saved the best for last. Now, this is 6.7%. All 3 of the other beers were 5.9, so I don't know if they bumped it, a little bit more malt or whatever to get the ABV up, or if maybe some of the Canadian rye whiskey from the Oak Staves seeped into the beer. I don't know. I don't know what the case may be. This special iteration features the addition of Erie County Maple Syrup. Buffalo, New York is in Erie County. Tipico Coffee, which they also use in Mocha the Whale, and then is aged on Canadian Rye Whiskey Oak Staves. Bring together all the best flavors from your morning ritual into one great beer. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to give this one a go. Like I said, I have high hopes for it. It sounds fantastic. I love maple syrup and coffee and beer, and then you throw some Canadian Whiskey Oak Staves, and come on, be good. I want you to be good. So yeah, pouring out like a brown ale. It's going to be darker in the glass, but definitely is going to, look like a brown ale of some sort. Kind of what you expect from American brown ale, right? So I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so in person it has this deep mahogany, deep dark brown color. A person probably going to look, not pitch black, but it's definitely going to look darker. Has about a 2.5 finger of this straight up, I'd say tan colored head. Maybe a little bit darker than that. Very creamy, very compact bubbles. Looks fantastic. That looks like a fantastic brown ale. Let's get a nose. So the coffee is very, very vibrant in this one. I'm not getting a ton of maple syrup, but I am getting this generic sweetness, which happens for me sometimes with maple syrup, where I don't get the actual maple syrup component. It's more of just a generic sweetness kind of happening here. I'm not really picking up on any of the oak staves, not any of the Canadian, the rye whiskey, no, and then no oakiness as well. It has a really nice like chocolate, caramel, toasty, roasty type of base to it, which is what the Whale pretty much brings to the table. It kind of smells like the base Whale, but with a little bit more sweetness and some coffee. So the nose is a little bit disappointing just because I wanted to smell the maple syrup, and I've obviously wanted to smell the Canadian Rye Whiskey Oak Staves, but I'm not. Maybe I'll taste them though. Anyway, cheers everybody. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. That's real nice. Body on this one, straight up, medium body, appropriate. The mouthfeel has a soft smoothness to it, while still being quite carbonated, but it's just nice body and mouthfeel for sure. The taste right up front, caramel, chocolate, toasted kind of malt character, a little bit of toffee. But as it continues to pass through the palate, there's this like unrefined maple syrup where you get the maple syrup flavor without the sweetness. That's what I'm hit with. And then right after that, coffee. So the maple and the coffee kind of intertwine, and it's pretty fucking good right there. Right after that, though, I'm hit with this pronounced dryness, and just because I know they aged this on oak staves, it's giving me definitely like an oak tannin kind of dryness from the oak staves themselves. I'm getting a little bit of like a rye whiskey thing, like a slight spiciness. I would attribute it to the Canadian rye whiskey. Yeah, a little bit of like a rye spiciness. It finishes semi to full on dry. There's a little bit of a residual sweetness, but not too much. A mild bitterness too. Yeah, this one's way better than Choco Taco Whale. And I'd like this probably in the same vein of the Mocha Whale, or Mocha the Whale. I don't know which one I prefer, but this I think has a nice sweetness, like an underlying sweetness to it, but it's cut on the back end by that semi-dry to full-on dry finish and that like perceived oak tannin dryness too. 6.7%. I really can't tell that this is any bigger than the 5.9. I mean, you know, just 0.8 more, but none of these, you know, have astringent alcohol or anything to them because, you know, they're lower ABV. I'm gonna pour the rest of it in just to see if it changes the profile up at all. Yeah, right now though, rating wise, I've got a number in my head. I think we're gonna go with it. Yeah, I'm gonna give Canadian Breakfast Whale from Community Beer Works, I'm going to give it a high 4 out of 5. I'm going to go 4.1 out of 5. I think that's a fair score. This is way better than the Choco Taco Whale to me. It's just as good as Mocha the Whale. I don't remember if I gave that a 4 or I gave that like a low 4.25 or whatever. I don't know. I might prefer Mocha the Whale. I don't know. Right now, off the top of my head, I can't remember what I scored that, but I'd say they're very similar in how I feel about them. I think this has more of that maple and a little bit of that oak tannin and a little bit more sweetness. And Mocha the Whale was more of like a coffee-driven beer. But I would say out of the 3 variants, this and Mocha the Whale were well done, and Choco Taco Whale was just a miss for me. So pretty good stuff here. I'm enjoying, gonna drink the rest of that, and yeah, I'm gonna have a good time. Price point availability, $16 for the 4-pack, which is a good deal when you're talking about 3 special variants with a bunch of different ingredients and stuff. $4 a can. Yeah, I would pay that all day, every day to try it, and I would rebuy this one again at $4 a can. I think it's well worth it. Availability, Community Beer Works gets distro in Buffalo. I do think maybe they're getting distro also in New York State at this point too, if not very soon. I remember hearing about that at some point, but yeah, if you live in New York State, you should be able to get your hands on Community Beer Works, if not now, definitely in the near future. And that's awesome because Community Beer Works, small place for a long time, but now, you know, they're starting to brew a lot more and get stuff out more locally, and they make some really good beer. For a long time, I consider them like the best brewery in the Buffalo area. I still think they're in that conversation, and I like their stuff. They brew a lot of different varieties of styles and whatnot too. They just don't, you know, just pastry stouts or just fruited sours. They do a bunch of different stuff, and they usually do it well. So a huge shout out to Community Beer Works for being around for a long time since I got into craft beer, and still doing a great job. So anyway, if you've had this one before, let me know what you think about it. I appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.